So this weekend, I played at the first Final Fantasy card game local qualifier of the season. It at Four Horsemen Comics and Games in Pittsburgh, and I somehow ended up winning. So I wanted to make a little video, talk about my adventure throughout the day, talk about the deck I played, the different matchups and the people I played against, and we'll just talk about how everything went. So without further ado, let's at least get into talking about the deck. So I decided to play Warriors for this event. Not only Warriors is a deck I've played for a while now, not only was I very comfortable with the deck, but I also felt like it has a very wide variety of decks it can deal with. So it can handle aggro decks such as like Knights and stuff. You have options like Agstar to freeze them and hold them at bay. You've got a lot of really good removal options if you need to, but it also has just enough speed to deal with control decks if you run into them. And so I just felt like no matter where I ended up, it was a comfortable deck that could handle anything that gets thrown at me. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of every single card. Like, oh, we played 3 Tyvis. Of course you play 3 Tyvis. It's Warriors. That'll be another video I make coming up, which will be like my Ice Lightning deck video, going into the combos and the deck builds and how you play the deck and those sorts of things. Right now, I just want to talk about some of the just thought processes I had in some of the new cards that came out and choices of like numbers. So the first obvious card here we see the new Earth Riku. Surprisingly, I haven't seen a lot of people running this card, but I love it. It's nothing like, you know, that's like busted, but if the option was open to me to be able to go like Tyvis into Riku, into Edgar, into Furion or Zidane, that is such a powerful turn that it felt like, you know, if my opening hand was Tyvis and Sarah, I was like, cool, let's go for it. Because like Sarah gets the Edgar next turn, just Tyvis, Riku, Edgar, dude. So I really enjoyed it. It never felt like it was in the way of anything. It just was a really nice option to have. The next new card we had in here was Cloud. This card's busted. I love it so much. You have so many options with it. Even just setting it down to 8k a forward and remove 2 things from the grave to draw a card, that's really good. I mean, having spot monster removal is really good because you don't have the greatest options when it comes to monster removal in these elements, and Cloud is perfect because it's monster removal, but it's other stuff if they're not playing monsters, which is really nice. And then finally we have Volker. Now this is a 1-of in the deck, and I think that is the perfect number for this card. Volker is, I said it all day, this is a 4th Tyvis. I mean, you're not casting this thing on turn 2, you know, like Doll 1, discard 3 Volker. That was never an option. But it's kind of one of those like, I have a Tyvis on board already, and I really just need an Agstar. Let's play the Volker because I need to search a warrior, right? It's just, I can't play another Tyvis, so it's just my 4th one with a different name. That's really what Volker ended up being for half the day, was just the extra Tyvis when I needed it. So I like it as a 1-of. I think anymore, and it's just kind of in the way. In my summon line, so I decided to go with some Brynhilders because Brynhilder is just very good, especially very good right now in dealing with Knights and dealing with Yuna, so long as they're not playing Galuf. And Salamander is another cool way of just being able to just take it all out when you need to. I think I only casted Salamander once throughout the day, and it was kind of like okay. I think I had like 9 fire cards in Break Zone at the time, and I was like, that sucks. So I don't think I'd take it out though. I think it's really good, especially if you pair it with something like having backup Moody to search it on demand, which is 3 cost, which works well with the Riku. So like even in your worst case, you can Tybus, Riku, Moody, search a Mott or Salamander or whatever you need, which is also really good, which is why I chose Moody over Saz, because Saz costs 4. Even though Saz is a burst, I don't want to build the deck relying on getting bursts. I'd rather have something that is 9 out of 10 times more useful to my game plan. And a lot of the times you'll find most of your games are 1 or 3 backups. Not really do you end up on two too often, because you're usually either playing the Larsa and going into the Tybus, or you're going like Sarah, Edgar, Lena. So also my backup line, I have Security Officer. This guy was pretty awesome, actually. Having 5k whenever I needed it, or just a draw. It's a category 7 backup that I can play off the cloud if times are tough. This card was sweet. I really like it. I wouldn't say, like, if you told me, like, oh, I'd rather play over Security Officer, I'd be like, sure, that's fine too. He just filled a slot that I felt was really good, into having a fire backup that always felt like it had value. Now, one of the things you may notice is I don't have in my backup line. So first I was running Red 13, the backup, the 2-drop, but I wanted to open up the potential to play the LB red. Now, you can make the argument that you still could play that red and just like Vincent it off to play this red, but I wanted to keep my options open. So then I was playing Celestia for a while, which is a 2-drop water warrior backup. But like, even this weekend, I maybe had 1 or 2 games where I was like, okay, searching a backup warrior here wouldn't be the worst. But like 9 times out of 10, I just like the backups don't do a ton. Red 13 was good for like a Sid Randell out, but Sid Randell isn't super favored right now. So I just wasn't a huge fan of it, and I didn't feel like I was losing anything, or like by taking it out, it didn't feel like it was adding a ton. I definitely may still play around putting it back in, but I wanted to stay in this 14 backup line, so it was kind of my last minute. We'll take it out and see what happens. See if I miss the searchable, free playable backup. And I didn't really. So I'll see going forward if I feel like I want that back in. But this is the overall structure of the deck. And I'm still thinking about what things, if I would change anything. I've thought about Leonora with 2-drop Porum, because that's really good into Yuna, having an ability to turn off the Yuna. Also, I learned from this weekend, having the Porum to turn off this Yuzuki in like a mirror match is huge. Having an answer to Yuzuki is huge. So that's been something that's been going through my mind. Some other things I was testing with and considering. I was testing with Iron Eater for a bit. Didn't like the card. There's not too many options. I want the 8k over the 7k, and the fact that the 8k can be nullified by something like Mist Dragon just kind of feels meh. So Iron Eater didn't make the cut. I was testing Phoenix for a bit as a monster. Still back and forth on it, because having that body that sits off to the side is really nice. Also, having a 9k ping is really nice, because sometimes if you don't have Clive Ifrit, getting over that 9k requires you to make a cute Axe-Star play, and that's it. Or you got to get really creative with, like, a ping from something like Brynhilder and Security Officer, or You know, it gets a little difficult at times, or overkilling something by like Ward and then Brynhilder. It's so Phoenix is definitely a card that I'm also thinking about. The final thing is thinking if I want to try and work in a second Mog. I like Mog as being like an easy, just like turn one, search it, play it, stop their search. I probably don't need to do it again. But you never know. There are times where maybe I just want to just lay it back on them, where it's like they throw away their first searcher to bait the Mog so that next turn they can play the real one and you just do it again. But I just don't know if there's the space for it. I'll have to think about it. Water cards are kind of at a premium in this deck. Our ratio is 37 fire cards and 17 water cards. So sometimes finding the water cards is a little tough when you're looking to. I've opened hands where it's like 4 fire cards and a Larsa, and I'm like, I don't know if I can keep this because it's perfect, but if I don't draw a water card, it's garbage. So that's the only thing that's been going through my mind, is figuring out if I want to balance the water to fire ratio. But that's the deck. I highly recommend trying it out if you've never played Warriors. It is an extremely fun mid-range deck with a lot of options, and I think you'll have a ton of fun playing it. But now let's talk about my day. We'll talk about the, my record, the matchups, and after the Swiss matchups, I'll talk about the top 8 with some. I have a few clips from the stream that happened in top 8. So let's talk about it. So fortunately enough, all of the people that I played in the Swiss rounds also made it to top 8. So in the tournament that's on Materia Hunter, I'm able to pull up all their deck lists. So I'll just pull up all the deck lists as I talk about each of my games. I ended up going 5-0 in Swiss, ending as the first seed, and then of course winning in Top Cup. So my first game here, this was round 1, was against a Turks Yuna deck. And this game for me pretty much came down to I had the Amat in hand. I got to go first, and then I had the Amat in hand for the first Sung that came down, which kind of just that alone just slowed him down to a point that I was able to just establish a board before he was able to really get online. Turks want to just go fast, and especially in a univariant. It's really cool because this is a deck I was thinking about for when the set was first released and we showed Yuna, that you can just go like Rude, Sung, another dude, like Reno, play Yuna, go, and you've got 4 dudes on board with a Yuna, and then next turn you have like Cisne and you just try and go for game. But yeah, being able to Amat the Sung, the first Sung that came down, just kind of really swung the game in my favor. Moving on to the second game, round 2, I played against Devin playing Viking Yuna deck. So this one, he opened the game with the which guy is the roulette Viking, this guy where you reveal top 5, play a Viking, and he misses it. But then he has the second one in hand, and then that hits the third one, which then hit another Viking, but he didn't have the Yuna to follow it up. So it was just 4 Vikings. So I was able to at least establish my starting turn. And then what really kind of swung the game was it goes to his turn. He swings with a Viking. I Brynhilder one. So it kills one of the 2 cost ones. I draw a card. The damage from the other one goes through. It's another Brynhilder in damage, and I kill the other Viking and draw another card. And that was just pretty backbreaking to remove 2 attackers right on turn 2 and draw 2 cards for it. So we kind of had a little back and forth at that point, but it really swung in my favor at that point. Really, one of his only outs was EX bursting the Odin, but he drew both of them early, so it was pretty safe swings. So going into round 3, I played against my good friend Adam Kassar, playing Fire Water here, but not Warriors. This is a Warrior of Light with Refia. This game, the early game was a very simple back and forth. He saw a lot of his water cards early, but we kind of just had a little back and forth there for a bit. I was able to like play a Cloud, get two of the 2 Ferrises in his breaks from the game, and kill a Refia. And then a second Refia came down, and I had the Amat for the reactivation trigger, which just kind of stopped all growth that he had in the deck. I thought I was really worried at one point because he was at 4 damage, and I decided I was going to push for game. I have 2 attackers on board and a Zidane in hand with an Edgar. So I was like, all right, I'm going to swing, put him to 6, and then cheat in the Edgar, or cheat in the Zidane with the Edgar, and swing for the 7th. Because I don't want to play it early in case, like, you know, this Lev 6 comes down and bounces him back to hand or something like that. So I swing, it connects. I swing for 0.6. It's a Thornton, which gets him the card he needs to have enough CP in hand. So when I played the Zidane, because he had 2 in hand, so the Thornton gave him a 3rd, so he could cast a Mott and kill the Zidane. And I was like, wow, if I could have played the Zidane first, I could have saw the Amat was in hand and taken it. But, you know, I played what I thought was the correct line. But luckily, I was still able to close out the game next turn. Because still discarding your hand for Amat left him with not a lot of options on the next turn. But it was still a very fun game. Going into round 4, I played Tori Kelly playing Magissa deck. And this game, I got very lucky. Because this game was a Yuzuki staring contest that came down to who drew their out first. And he has the Jekt in the build. He has the Larcaicus, lots of options that just were sitting on the bottom of his deck, the Gishtolas or whatever. And I was able to, I had an Ifrit on board, which was one of the main reasons I was able to at least start getting somewhere, was we both had Tyvis Yuzuki, which were just staring at each other. But I at least had this 10k Ifrit that could just give me a point of damage. And then I had the special in hand. I just needed to draw a Kuchu Lane, and I Kuchu Lane it, and I draw, and it's another one, another Ifrit. So then I just get the double special, and then just start swinging in. And it was unbelievably lucky that not only he did not see his out, but that my Kuchu Lane gave me a double special to clear board. But yeah, it was a very fun game. And very, very interesting staring another Yuzuki in the face and just both sitting there with like Clive Ifrits and being like, yeah, all these cards do nothing. And the final round was Adam playing against Knights. This game went pretty well for me. Mainly because he went for, you know, the turn 1, he goes for the Gawain, gets the dudes, goes for the Corilla, and it hit, like, I don't even remember. I think it hit Lilith, and I want to say it was like Lilith Steiner or something. Like, it was not good. And so it was like there was not a lot of pressure on the board. So I was able to slowly just get them all off the board, get Clive out, and just kind of take it away because the Corilla did not get anything useful. But that was the end of the Swiss rounds, which then leads us into the top cut. The first game in top 8 was against Logan on Mono Water. Logan was going for using like the new Tidus to get a lot of value with some more Cat 10 cards like Waka and having those 4k power losses. I really like this Tidus and I really want to play around with it a little more. So I get to go first because I was the first seed. And I end up starting the game with I look at my hand. I've got Edgar Zidane. I just slam it because I want to just see if I can rip all the backups out of his hand early to stunt the growth of the water. And so I'm able to get the Zidane. I'm able to get the first backup out of his hand. But the draw off the Zidane gets into Kuchu lane, so he's able to stop that. But even though it kind of stopped that and he was able to start getting some backups, this Zidane stayed on board just so long, and it was able to just start taking card after card after card. I took all the Tidus's out of the hand. I was starting to take monsters out of the hand. It was just slowly trying to get all the gas out of the deck as possible. And when the first one died, I played another. I just cracked the Edgar and played another and just kept that going. And he started to claw back with having Lena into 9-drop Leviathan. And it was really scary, but just slowly able to take control of the board. The nice thing is having big bodies like Ash and Leviathan, X-Star can just move those out of the way. So it was a nice back and forth game. Very, very pendulum swinging between the two of us, but I was able to close it out there in the end. Now we go to game 2, and I felt so bad. He opens his hand, and in the first like 2 turns of the game, he saw 2 of his 6-drop Leviathans, all 3 of the Ashes, and a Tros. It was like there wasn't a backup in sight. It was the most unplayable hand ever. So it's like it was very unfortunate, but like no backups is like the mark of death for a mono water deck. And even in going into the turns after, there was never a backup in sight for him. So I was able to just, monsters and forwards were hitting the board, and I was able to just play like Cloud and kill a Tros and just slowly just amass a ton of value and drain resources. So an anticlimactic end to the first top 8 game. But it's a very cool deck. Very, very cool deck. Going into the top 4 game. So this was a rematch against Knights. We saw this deck before, but this time in game 1, game 1 was like exactly how you want to see the game open as Knights. He's able to play the Corilla, he's able to, I believe, goes into the Ramza, into the Corilla. Corilla flips Charlotte Laswell. I mean, that is just back-breaking. It's very hard to recover from, Ramza, Corilla, Charlotte Laswell. So, I tried to bring this back, but this game just slowly, not even slowly, this game just quickly got out of control for me, and I lost game 1. Game 2, game 2. We start the game, and I play my backup. I search Tyvis, and I pass. And he plays a Merwib and searches a Gawain. So I know he wants to search because he's got this Gawain. So I go for the Tyvis, search the Mog, play the Mog, draw a card, and pass. Just saying, you can't play that Gawain. So he plays the Gawain to bait the Mog, and I crack the Mog. Then he goes for a Clive into a Prime into a Freet, which we let resolve. I take the damage, and then the judge points out and reminds us priming is a search. So we rolled back because it was an illegal play. So, well, you can try to prime, but then it fails because Mog prevents searching for the entire turn. So unfortunately, he pretty much discarded his entire hand to have a Clive and a Gawain on board that had no effect. And Clive couldn't even get the draw to because the Tybus was in the way. So that game, then my go, I play Clive, Primafreed, kill his Gawain and Clive, and the game was over at that point. It was very unfortunate. We both forgot about that until we were reminded that you can't prime under a Mog. Finally, we go into game 3, and this game was a grindy back and forth. It was a very fun game. And it was one of those games that, like, I always felt, you know, 2 steps away from winning, but I felt like I couldn't get there. And it was honestly starting to, like, I was making really, like, bad or inefficient plays because I think I was getting really swept up in, like, that mentality of, like, this game's slipping away from me. I need to end it. I need to end it quickly. And I think I was rushing a little too hard. But fortunately, was still able to get there in the end. But man, it was a rough game, and arguably shouldn't have won. But that gets us into the finals. Finals is against Brian C, and playing a category 4 deck. Now, this is a deck that you should absolutely go check out, and go check out the finals game. I have the clips up here of the games. The whole event was streamed by my good friend Mike over at Ready Check Radio. Go make sure to check him out. Go check out the stream, and definitely check out this deck, because this is super cool. Every time you look at this, there's just some cool new combo you see out of it. It's really neat. I was telling Brian afterwards, it was so cool that we played a best of 3 game, and it felt like every single game was completely different. Like, I just saw a completely different side of his deck every single game, which made it super, super cool. So game 1, I take the loss on that one. Game 2, I was really worried about it because, you know, he starts going in for his, you know, you want to try and get the Rosa out, then you want to play the Earth Cecil, tag out the Earth Cecil for the Wind Cecil, and then get a free play off of that. And having Wind Cecil and Yuna on board is disgusting. So I didn't realize it at the time. I did make my play lines a little inefficient there, but I went really aggressive in trying to stop his plays game 2. You know, he plays the Rosa, I Brynhilder it. He tags out the Earth Cecil in response to play the Wind Cecil. I pitch hand to a Mott the Wind Cecil, just to, like, you know, every time he made a play, I dumped my hand to try and counter it. And I was really worried that it was too aggressive, and it probably was. But it ended up working out in the end. I think stopping the initial combo really helps. I didn't want to see that Wind Cecil hit the board. That Wind Cecil is so nasty. And so we go to game 3 for the finals. And again, another really big back and forth, but I just really had to highlight because I got to end the game in just the best way possible, in that it was another one of those moments where I felt like I had to end the game immediately, or I was probably like the game was going to start slipping away from me. So I see that he swings me, takes me to 6 damage, and leaves just a single Mott standing. And so I'm able to just go LB, because I have just the LB Zac on the board. So I go Limit Break, Vincent, kill the Mott, Limit Break, Red 13, Limit Break. Now I've got 2 7s on board because it's LB Zac, LB Vincent. And then I'm able to poke for game. And that last minute addition of putting red in my Limit Break, just in case I LB my whole deck into Cat 7s, actually happened. And I was so happy to see that play pay off. But yeah, I was all the top cut games, all my games were very cool. GG's to everybody. They were very, 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 very fun games. And I definitely learned a lot from them, and I not only I learned a lot, but I learned I have a lot more to learn. So I'm excited to keep playing this season and see where things go. So that is where we're gonna end it. Thank you all for watching and hanging out. Let me know down below what kind of decks you're looking at messing around with this season. You know, like I said, Warriors have been a deck that I love so much playing with, and I'm hoping to play around with it more. Also hoping I can mess around with some Final Fantasy X stuff, because that 5-drop T just looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, until the next video, take care, everyone.